one of the most common conversations when you're talking financial planning. Gee, I wish I did this 5 years ago. Isn't it funny? Particularly in your younger years, you say, oh, no, I'll do it now. Oh, no, I'll do it in a couple of years' time. And when you do get around to it 10 years later, you say, oh, why didn't I bloody well do this 5 years ago? So we're going to have a talk about that particular exclamation, which often would happen in a person's young years, but not too young years. Probably lots of people don't do a thing about it till they're in their 30s or later. I've got Paul Fowler on the line, certified financial planner at Fowler's Group. Paul, good morning.
Morning, Macca. How you going, mate?
Isn't that a good way to start this conversation? I wish I did this 5 years ago. Most people say, I wish I did it 12 years or 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly, mate. It is a very common comment, and it is actually across all ages. You know, it's not just the younger age group. It's, you know, a lot of times people sort of getting, you know, even thinking towards retirement, you know. And I think probably on the major things that cause that, with the younger generation, when you can show them just the simplicity of how compound interest works and the smaller bits you do early on, how big a difference that makes down the track. That's sort of what, when they go, that's the light bulb moment for them. But, you know, once you get older and you start living and you buy a house, you take on debt, you have kids, and you have all these things going on, then you're thinking about retirement, and then your neighbours are telling you what you should invest in, and your mates down the pub are telling you what to do. You have all these things going on, and it actually just, you know, paralyses you, so you don't actually do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so common. And then what we find is that, you know, once people have finally picked up the phone and come and have the chat, even just for that initial chat, it's sort of, when you start talking about, hey, look, let's just forget about the investments and what's confusing here. Let's just get an understanding of what you actually want to achieve and break that down a little bit. And then you can see the stress lift a little bit, and you get couple of little wins, couple of little 1%ers. And you, even if you walk out of the first meeting and do nothing, I think there's a little bit of value to just have a talk to some professional about it.
Especially reminding people about the miracle of compound interest. Do you remember, I don't know if they still circulate it, but I remember giving it to my kids, The Richest Man in Babylon, and a daughter of mine reminded me the other day, and she's well and truly past her teenage years, and I thought, one of the better things I've ever done. But once again, this first, making an appointment to come and have a yarn, it could be a light bulb moment, but doesn't have to be, but it's thinking in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it is, and it just helps you unclutter. I just put it, you know, the hard part is making the phone call. It's almost like, Macca, you know, you have your New Year's resolutions after Christmas to get up early in the morning and go and exercise or go for a walk, and it's really hard to take those first two steps out of bed. And then you stay in bed, and then you wake up and you don't feel so good. But the day you do it and get up and wake up, all of a sudden you go for the walk and you feel, how good do you feel? And you're all clear and your head's clean. You think, I need to do that more often. It's not that hard. And that's what it's like. So I think, make the call, because it's really not intrusive to whoever you talk to. Most planners, I'd imagine, if we just look in the Cairns area, most planners will have that initial conversation on the house, or even if they do charge maybe a small fee, but I think it's probably worthwhile investigating for sure.
On television advertising for superannuation, I presume the advertiser's required to put these words in: past performance does not indicate future results. What's the point they're trying to make there? Why do they go out of their way to say that?
Oh, look, I think the danger is, you get your return. So on any good year, say if you look at the last 12 months, if people look at their superannuation, everyone's got superannuation, the performance over the last 12 months has been quite good because markets around the world have done really well.
Yes.
But then what people say, they come to you and say, rightio, well, this is the return I've got. Can you do better, or what can you do for me in the next 12 months? Okay. And it's actually fraught with danger. Unless you're putting money in the bank, you can't guarantee what returns are going to happen, because we simply don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in investment markets around the world. So I think if you're talking to someone and they're starting to guarantee you these returns, then I'd probably have a little bit of a question mark over their credentials. And I think when you're actually talking to an advisor, if you get the chance, it's probably not a bad question to ask in regards to put it in the sense, what returns can I get, to see what response you'll get. Because unless it's anything other than, oh, look, it depends, because there's so many variables as to what that return can give, then I'll give you a great example. Social media is probably the prime one. Everyone does some, if you're talking investment terms, you'll go to Google, right? And whatever you Google, or if you're talking, it seems today, if you're talking in conversation about something, you open up your Facebook and all of a sudden it's that the topic you're talking about's throwing an ad up on Facebook or one of the social media platforms. And I had a client, last year it was, he actually went to 2 meetings where this mob guaranteed him 16% return, guaranteed. No risk, never lose your money. And it was actually investing, but we need all your superannuation money. And we're going to invest in, we're not going to invest in cryptocurrency. We're going to invest in the machines that actually make the Bitcoins.
Yes.
So it's a win-win situation. Anyway, we looked at all his, the information that he'd got. And it actually turns out they had this big disclaimer saying, we guarantee, on all the promotional material, it says we guarantee 16%. Then you look at the disclaimers and it says, as you said before, any future returns cannot be guaranteed.
Yes.
And they actually said in this instance, in fact, any returns that we've posted can't be guaranteed either. So I think it's important when you see any of this stuff, you've just got to look at the final detail. It's so important.
Now, how does age come into a situation? There'll be people in their 30s or maybe even 40s saying, Joe, the time has come, and you've got to give them advice. I mean, to adjust the risk level would be different from somebody in their mid-20s to somebody in their mid-30s and their mid-40s. Yeah,
exactly. And it also, there's a number of different parts to it. When you talk about risk level, I guess when it comes to investing, it's, how much money you've got invested in, assets that are going to bounce around a bit, whether that be equities or property, compared to assets that aren't going to do that. Say money sitting in the bank, say, for simplicity form. So generally the younger ages can afford to take on board a bit more risk and a bit more volatility because of the length of time they have to invest for. And what you generally find as people get into the older ages, they sort of pull back on that, what we call the investment risk going forward. But that's only one factor. Age is only one factor. The other thing to consider is what return you actually need to be able to achieve the goal that you've set out.
Yeah.
And a lot of cases we've seen when we've done planning for people is that they don't actually have to take on as much risk as they think they do to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. So it's a matter of marrying up your investment profile to your future financial goals as well, because that can take a lot of the stress out of it. What people tend to do is sort of try and do all the investments first and do the planning later. So sort of put the cart before the horse almost, as opposed to, hey, let's plan what it's going to look like, and then what investments we use are just the tools to be able to achieve that. You wouldn't build a house without having a plan, so why go investing without having a plan in place?
I can almost hear people at home getting on in years towards the end of their working life saying, ask Paul Fowler how you decide on how much money you'll need in retirement. Yeah,
mate, that's probably the most common question I guess we as financial planners get asked. And the hard part with that is that people always... Well, what people tend to do is just concentrate on the amount of capital you need.
Yeah.
But when you go into retirement, you don't eat the capital, you eat the income. So it's more, we sort of flip it on the head and say, well, how much income do you need? Because that's what's really important. And then once you decide how much income you need, then we can work out what's required from a capital sense, as opposed to saying, oh, look, $1 million is going to do you well. Well, it might do your mate well, but you might live completely different life. So you don't need $1 million. You could need $2 million or $500,000. I don't know. So it's more important to think about what income you require.
Right.
And then you go and say, right, well, if I need $80,000 to live or $100,000 to live, this is how much capital I need to be able to achieve that, rather than say, oh, $1 million will do me. Because you want the capital last as well.
Of course. Now, people are going to sit in front of you and say, well, you must meet lots of people just like me. What do you tell them when they come to talk to you? What advice do you give them?
Look, I think for anyone it's important if they're going to go see an advisor, you want to make sure you're comfortable with who you're talking to, first and foremost. it's important to sort of get an understanding whether they've actually helped people in the same situation as
Yes.
you, because as far as financial planning goes, it's almost like going to see a solicitor. You know, you can do everything, but some people you have different areas that you may specialise in, or that you concentrate your business towards. So you might have people that just work with professionals, or people that only work with people that have over $1 million, or people that really want to deal with 30 to 40-year-olds that are accumulating wealth. So I think it's important to get an understanding of what other people they've helped that are similar to you, and even be able to get a few examples of how that may have happened as well. I think that's important, Macca.
I would imagine too, people like you and your other officers down there, obviously would have been around for some years and seen the ups and downs, get an understanding of what might possibly go wrong in months and years to come. Is that critically important in a job like yours?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think it's sort of on the back of if you're looking for an advisor or talking to an advisor. One is making sure they get an understanding of where they actually have helped people like you. But I think a bit of history as well in the industry helps. I mean, our industry's changed quite a bit over the years with different regulations that come in, different education standards. A lot of long-term advisors have left the industry, which has left us short across Australia in regards to the amount of financial planners. And I think it's important that you want to be talking to someone that sort of has gone through the ups and downs, I guess, over a period of time and come out the other side.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to recommending retirement plans for people. You know, people that maybe have gone through the GFC and come out the other side,
Yes.
gone through periods like, remember Y2K, all of a sudden the world was going to stop, planes were going to fall out of skies, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But 9/11. So gone through these big moments in time where portfolios have stood through it, and retirement savings are still there. So it's worth asking that question, and also getting an understanding of their credentials as well.
Now, Paul, somebody listening to this, they want to come and have a yarn down at Fowler's. What do they do?
Mate, the easiest way, you can go to the website, Fowler's Group website. There's you can click on the area. Sorry, I don't know the pages that well, but there's a Start the Journey tab on our website.
Yep.
Or just give us a call. Just give us a call on the phone and organise a time to meet. We generally have a phone conversation to see how we can help, and then it goes from there. It's quite simple.
Good on you, Paul. Appreciate this update today. Thank you.
No worries, mate.
That's Paul Fowler, a certified financial planner at Fowler's Group down there in Lake Street. I said the other day, I'm just next to the City Place, but the City Place, of course, doesn't exist anymore. Most people listening to this will know where the City Place used to be. Now, it's on